Amy's hand trembled against the dressing room wall, the phone pressed to her ear. Blake's voice on the other end. 20 minutes before showtime, 18,000 fans screaming outside. She'd heard three words that changed everything. The microphone would feel different tonight. The stage would feel like quicksand. Belgrade would witness something the music world had never seen before. Security footage from June 18, 2011 captured what happened next. The cameras didn't lie. Amy's face went white. Her knees buckled. The bodyguard reached out. She waved him away. Blake's voice kept talking. She kept listening. The makeup artist noticed first. Something had broken inside Amy Winehouse. Something that couldn't be fixed with concealer and eyeliner. The call came from Pentonville prison at 7:47 p.m. Blake Fielder Civil had exactly 8 minutes. Prison regulations. He'd been waiting 3 days for phone privileges. 3 days to tell Amy what the guards had told him, what the lawyers had confirmed, what the newspapers would print tomorrow morning. But Amy would hear it first. She deserved that much, even if it destroyed her, even if it destroyed tonight. Blake's voice cracked on the second sentence. Amy heard it immediately. She'd memorized every inflection of his voice, every pause, every breath. This pause meant something different. This breath carried weight. She gripped the phone tighter. Her knuckles turned white. The dressing room suddenly felt smaller. The walls pressed in. Blake said the three words again, slower this time, making sure she understood, making sure she felt every syllable. They're keeping me longer. 4 more months. The parole board had decided Blake wouldn't be released in July. He'd stay locked up until November. 4 more months without seeing Amy. 4 more months of prison phones and supervised visits. 4 more months of Amy drinking alone in Camden. 4 more months of her waiting. 4 more months of her hoping. The timeline they'd planned together crumbled. The future they'd imagined disappeared. Everything changed in those 3 words. Amy's tour manager knocked on the door. 15 minutes to stage. She didn't respond. Blake was still talking, explaining the legal details, the probation violations, the judge's decision. Amy wasn't listening anymore. She was counting. 4 months equals 16 weeks. 16 weeks equals 112 days. 112 days of waking up alone. 112 days of checking her phone. 112 days of visiting him behind glass. The math felt impossible. The wait felt endless. The vodka bottle sat on the counter, half empty from earlier. Amy's eyes fixed on it. Blake was saying something about appeals, something about lawyer fees, something about staying strong. The bottle looked closer than it was, more appealing than it should be. She'd promised herself she'd stay sober tonight. She'd promised her tour manager, she'd promised the promoters. She'd promised 18,000 Serbian fans who'd paid to see her. But Blake's voice kept echoing. 4 more months. 4 more months. 4 more months. She reached for the bottle, her hand steady now. The trembling had stopped. Blake heard the liquid pouring. He knew that sound. He'd heard it 1,000 times before. Through phone calls, through arguments, through breakups and makeups. He said her name. She didn't answer. He said it again, louder, more desperate. The guard's voice interrupted. 2 minutes remaining. Blake started talking faster, saying he loved her, saying she'd be okay, saying the tour would be good for her, saying she needed to stay focused. Amy took the first drink, then the second. The warmth spread through her chest. The edges softened. The walls stopped pressing. Blake's voice became background noise. The guard announced 1 minute. Blake was begging now, begging her to put down the bottle, begging her to go on stage sober, begging her to be strong. But strength required hope. Hope required a future. The future had just been delayed 4 more months. The math didn't work anymore. The timeline had shattered. The call ended. The silence felt deafening. Amy stared at her reflection. The beehive hairdo perfectly styled, the winged eyeliner sharp and dark, the vintage dress fitted and pressed. She looked like Amy Winehouse. She looked like a superstar. She looked like someone who had everything together. The reflection lied. The mirror showed a costume, a performance, a woman playing the role of herself. The real Amy had just heard Blake's voice crack, had just learned about 4 more months, had just picked up the bottle. 10 minutes to showtime. The tour manager returned, this time with the band. They saw the bottle. They saw Amy's eyes. They saw the change. The bassist had worked with her for 3 years. He recognized the signs. The guitarist had seen this before, in Dublin, in Birmingham, in Copenhagen. The drummer started to speak. Amy cut him off. She stood, straightened her dress, checked her lipstick, smiled that famous smile. The smile that had sold millions of records. The smile that had won Grammys. The smile that meant absolutely nothing. "Let's give them a show," she said. The band exchanged glances. The tour manager checked his watch. The venue manager was calling. 18,000 people chanting her name. The promoters had paid 6 figures. The tickets had sold out in 4 hours. Serbian radio had been playing her songs for weeks. This was supposed to be historic. Amy Winehouse's first concert in Belgrade. A triumph, a celebration, a moment of musical magic. Instead, it would become something else entirely. Something the internet would never forget. Something YouTube would preserve forever. Amy walked toward the stage door. Each step felt mechanical, rehearsed, automatic. She'd done this walk 100 times. In London, in New York, in Tokyo. Her body knew the routine. Stand here. Wait for the cue. Hear the introduction. Feel the lights. But tonight felt different. Tonight the routine felt hollow. The walk felt longer. The door felt heavier. Blake's words kept looping. 4 more months. 4 more months. 4 more months. The opening act finished. The crowd's roar shook the walls. Amy closed her eyes, tried to find the performer inside. The artist who'd written Back to Black. The soul singer who'd channeled Billie Holiday. The genius who'd made the world stop and listen. But that person felt distant, unreachable, locked away somewhere deeper than Pentonville prison. Somewhere vodka couldn't reach. Somewhere Blake's voice couldn't penetrate. Somewhere the stage lights couldn't illuminate. The introduction started. "Ladies and gentlemen," the Serbian accent thick with excitement. Amy's band took their positions. The bassist looked back at her. One last chance. One final question in his eyes. She nodded. What else could she do? Cancel and disappoint 18,000 people? Refund the tickets? Admit she couldn't perform because her ex-husband had 4 more months in prison? The show must go on. That's what they always said. The show must go on. Even when the performer is breaking, even when the artist is drowning, even when Amy Winehouse is falling apart. The spotlight hit her face. The crowd exploded. Phones lifted. Cameras flashed. Amy grabbed the microphone. The opening notes of Addicted filled the arena. She'd sung this song 300 times. The lyrics lived in her muscle memory. Her voice should know every run, every note, every breath, but her mouth felt disconnected from her brain. The words came out wrong. The timing felt off. The melody wandered somewhere it shouldn't go. She stopped singing mid-verse. The band kept playing, confused, uncertain, waiting for her to rejoin. Amy stared at the crowd. 18,000 faces staring back, some smiling, some confused, some filming, all watching, all expecting the Amy Winehouse they'd paid to see. The genius, the icon, the voice that defined a generation. Instead, they were seeing something else. Someone else. A woman who'd received a phone call 20 minutes ago. A woman who'd drained half a bottle of vodka. A woman who couldn't remember the next line. The bassist stopped playing. Then the drummer, then the guitarist. Silence filled the arena. Awkward, heavy, painful. Someone in the front row shouted encouragement. Amy didn't respond. She turned to her band, tried to speak. The words wouldn't come. Her tour manager appeared stage left, gesturing, asking if she needed a break. She shook her head, started the song again, made it through the first chorus, forgot the second verse, stopped, restarted, stopped again. The crowd's energy shifted. Excitement became confusion. Confusion became concern. Concern became something darker. Someone booed. One person, then another, then a section, then hundreds. The sound rolled across the arena like thunder. Amy heard it, felt it, absorbed it. Each boo a confirmation, each jeer a truth. She was failing, publicly, spectacularly. 18,000 witnesses, thousands more would watch online. The footage would live forever. Amy Winehouse's Belgrade disaster, the night the genius broke down, the concert that proved the tabloids right. She tried another song, Back to Black, her signature, her masterpiece, the song that had made her a superstar, but the words felt foreign, the melody felt unreachable. Her voice cracked on the first note, wavered on the second, disappeared on the third. The band played on. Professional, desperate, hoping she'd find her way back. But Amy was somewhere else, in a prison visiting room, staring at Blake through glass, counting down 112 days, 4 more months, 4 more months, 4 more months, 15 minutes into the set. Amy had completed exactly 2 songs. Barely. She'd stopped and restarted 7 times. Forgotten lyrics to songs she'd written, wandered off the melody of tracks she'd performed thousands of times. The boos had grown louder, more insistent, angrier. Plastic bottles landed on stage. Someone threw their shoe. Security moved closer to the barrier. The venue manager radioed for backup. This was deteriorating fast. This was becoming dangerous. Amy's tour manager climbed on stage, whispered in her ear. She pulled away, grabbed the microphone stand for balance, tried to address the crowd. The words slurred. The Serbian fans didn't understand her accent on a good day. Tonight, they couldn't understand anything. She was apologizing, or explaining, or asking for patience. The microphone picked up fragments, disconnected phrases, nothing coherent, nothing that made sense, nothing that could save this disaster. The band started Rehab. If anything could save the night, this could. The song everyone knew, the anthem, the hit. Amy swayed to the opening beat, found the first line, sang it clearly. The crowd responded, singing along, giving her energy, giving her a chance. She made it through the first verse, then the chorus. Hope flickered. Maybe she could pull this back. Maybe the phone call wouldn't destroy everything. Maybe Belgrade could still be saved. But the second verse fell apart. Amy's voice cracked. She grabbed the microphone stand, held on like it was the only solid thing in a spinning world. The band kept playing. The crowd kept singing, trying to carry her, trying to will her through. But Amy had left the building, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Her body stood on stage in Belgrade. Her mind sat in a Camden flat, staring at a phone, waiting for another call, counting down 112 days. She stumbled, caught herself, stumbled again. The bassist rushed over, held her elbow, kept her upright. The tour manager appeared again, this time more insistent. Amy nodded, finally accepting, finally admitting. She couldn't do this. Not tonight. Not after Blake's call. Not after learning about 4 more months. The band stopped, playing. The crowd went silent. 18,000 people watching, waiting, wondering what would happen next. Amy handed the microphone to her tour manager, turned toward the wings, each step measured. Careful. The stage suddenly felt unstable. The floor tilted, the lights too bright, the crowd too loud. Someone screamed, "We love you, Amy!" She didn't look back, couldn't look back. If she saw their faces, she'd break completely. If she acknowledged their disappointment, she'd collapse. The only option was forward, off the stage, away from the lights, back to the dressing room, back to the bottle, back to counting days until Blake's release. The venue erupted, boos and cheers mixing together. Some fans understood, some didn't. Some threw more bottles, some cried. Security formed a barrier. The house lights came up. Announcement in Serbian, concert canceled, money refunded. Please exit safely. The words meant nothing. The damage was done. 18,000 people had witnessed Amy Winehouse's public breakdown. Thousands more would watch the footage. Tomorrow's headlines were already written. The tabloids would feast for weeks. Backstage, Amy locked the dressing room door. Her band knocked. She didn't answer. Her tour manager called through the door. She turned up the music. Billie Holiday. Good Morning Heartache. The irony wasn't lost on her. She finished the vodka bottle, started another. Her phone buzzed. Text messages. Dozens. She didn't read them. Didn't need to. She knew what they said. Concern, disappointment, anger, questions about what happened, questions she couldn't answer, questions that all led back to 3 words from Blake: 4 more months. Within 2 hours, the footage hit YouTube. Shaky cell phone videos, different angles, all showing the same disaster. Amy stumbling, Amy forgetting lyrics, Amy walking off stage. The comment section filled immediately. Some sympathetic, most cruel. She needs help. This is sad. Waste of money. She's done. Career over. The videos spread. Facebook, Twitter, music blogs, news sites. By midnight, the world knew. Amy Winehouse had collapsed in Belgrade. Not physically, worse, publicly, professionally. The kind of collapse the internet never forgets. The Serbian promoters demanded answers. The insurance company opened an investigation. The remaining tour dates faced cancellation. Amy's label called emergency meetings. Her publicist drafted statements. Her father flew to Belgrade. Everyone had opinions. Everyone had solutions. Nobody asked about the phone call. Nobody knew about Blake's news. Nobody understood that this wasn't about vodka or drugs or unprofessionalism. This was about a woman who just learned she'd wait 4 more months. 112 more days. 4 more months of being Amy Winehouse alone. 4 more months of cameras and questions and expectations. 4 more months of pretending she was okay when everything felt broken. In the dressing room, Amy watched the footage. On her laptop, saw herself stumbling, heard herself slurring, watched the crowd's faces change from excitement to disappointment to anger. This was her legacy now, not the Grammys, not Back to Black, not the voice that had moved millions. This, Belgrade, the disaster, the breakdown, the night Amy Winehouse proved every terrible thing the tabloids had ever said about her. The footage would outlive her. She knew that instinctively. Years from now, people would watch. People would judge. People would shake their heads. What a waste, they'd say. They'd never know about the phone call. They'd never understand about Blake. They'd never grasp that sometimes 3 words can destroy everything. Her tour manager finally broke through the door, found Amy on the floor, laptop open, playing the footage on repeat. He sat beside her, didn't speak, waited. Amy finally looked at him. The makeup had run, the eyeliner smeared. The performance had ended, the costume had come off. This was just Amy, broken, tired, lost. She told him about the phone call, about Blake's news, about 4 more months, about the math that didn't work, about the future that kept disappearing, about the weight of trying to perform while drowning. He listened, didn't judge, didn't lecture. When she finished, he asked one question: "What do you need?" Amy laughed. Bitter, sharp. What did she need? She needed Blake released. She needed time to rewind. She needed the phone call to unhappen. She needed 18,000 Serbian fans to forget. She needed the internet to delete. She needed the impossible. What she said was simpler. "I need everyone to stop expecting me to be okay." The tour manager canceled the remaining dates. 6 shows, 3 countries, hundreds of thousands in lost revenue. He didn't care. The label would be furious. The promoters would sue. The insurance would fight. Let him. Amy needed to go home. Not to Camden, not to the places paparazzi waited. Somewhere quiet, somewhere safe, somewhere she could break down without cameras filming. Somewhere she could count to 112 without the world watching. Somewhere she could be Amy, just Amy, not the icon, not the disaster. Just a woman who loved someone she couldn't have. Just a person who'd received bad news at the worst possible time. The flight back to London felt eternal. Amy sat in first class, sunglasses hiding swollen eyes, hood pulled up, headphones on, not listening to music, just blocking out the world. The other passengers recognized her, some sympathetic glances, some disapproving stares. Everyone had seen the footage. Everyone had an opinion. No one approached. For that, she was grateful. Small mercies, tiny victories. Getting through the flight without someone asking for a selfie or an explanation. Her father met her at Heathrow. Mitch Winehouse, taxi driver turned manager. Complicated relationship, unconditional love. He saw her face, didn't ask questions, just wrapped his arms around her, let her cry into his shoulder. Airport security created a barrier. Paparazzi shouted from behind barriers. "Amy, what happened in Belgrade? Amy, are you in rehab? Amy, is it over with Blake?" The questions bounced off. Meaningless noise. She'd stopped listening to that particular frequency years ago. The car ride home was silent. Mitch knew better than to push. Amy stared out the window. London passed by. Gray, rainy, familiar. This city had made her. This city had broken her. This city would witness whatever came next. Blake was 40 minutes away, locked in Pentonville. She could visit tomorrow, sit across from him with glass between them, pick up the phone, look into his eyes, start the countdown. 112 days, 16 weeks, 4 months. The math would feel more real, more possible, more survivable. But tonight, she just needed to sleep, in her own bed, in Camden, where the walls knew her secrets, where the mirrors had seen her at her worst, where the bottles were familiar friends. Tomorrow she'd face the aftermath. Tomorrow she'd read the headlines. Tomorrow she'd listen to voicemails from her label. Tomorrow she'd start rebuilding. But tonight belonged to grief, to disappointment, to the phone call that had destroyed Belgrade, to 3 words that had changed everything. 4 more months. The Serbian promoters filed a lawsuit. 3 million euros in damages. Breach of contract? Failure to perform? Professional negligence. Amy's lawyers responded. Force majeure? Medical emergency? Emotional distress. The legal battle would drag on for months. Depositions, negotiations, settlements. None of it mattered. The damage wasn't financial. The cost wasn't measured in euros. Belgrade had taken something more valuable: confidence, belief, hope. The idea that Amy could still do this, that she could still perform, that she could still be the artist everyone expected. The footage kept spreading, remixed, analyzed, debated. Music critics wrote think pieces. The tragedy of Amy Winehouse. When genius meets addiction, the price we pay for our icons. Everyone had theories. Nobody had facts. The phone call remained private. Blake's news stayed secret. The public saw a drunk woman stumbling on stage. They didn't see a heartbroken person who just learned to wait 4 more months. They couldn't understand what those 3 words had cost. They wouldn't know until years later, until after everything ended, until Belgrade became a footnote in a much larger tragedy. Her label suggested therapy. Amy agreed. What else was there? She met with Dr. Christina Romete, twice weekly sessions, talking about Blake, about addiction, about the pressure of fame, about being Amy Winehouse when all she wanted was to be Amy. The therapist asked good questions. Amy gave honest answers, but therapy couldn't change Blake's release date, couldn't erase the Belgrade footage, couldn't make the expectations disappear. Therapy was a tool, not a solution, a process, not a cure. The remaining tour dates stayed canceled. Her team suggested a break, 6 months, maybe a year. Let the Belgrade disaster fade. Let the public forget. Come back stronger. Fresh material, new energy, redemption tour. The narrative was already written. Amy just needed to follow the script. Get clean, stay sober, write new songs, prove everyone wrong. The comeback story. The phoenix rising. The script everyone loved. Everyone except Amy. Pentonville allowed letters. Blake wrote 3 times a week. Long letters, detailed letters, apologizing for the phone call's timing, apologizing for getting arrested, apologizing for the parole violation, apologizing for not being there. The apologies filled pages. Amy read them once, kept them in a box, under her bed. Proof that someone understood, proof that someone cared, proof that in 112 days this would end, that Blake would be released, that they could try again, that the math would work out, that the future still existed, somewhere, someday. After the waiting ended, she tried to write back. Started dozens of letters. None felt right. What could she say? Belgrade was your fault? 4 more months is killing me? I can't do this without you? All true. All unfair. Blake was locked up. She was free. He couldn't control the parole board. Couldn't change the judge's decision. Couldn't make the time pass faster. Writing felt pointless. So she stopped trying. Let his letters pile up. Unanswered. Another thing to feel guilty about. Another weight to carry. Another price of being Amy Winehouse. Her friends tried to help. Tried to pull her out. Let's go to dinner. Come to the studio. We miss you. She appreciated the effort. Declined the invitations. What would she say at dinner? How would she explain Belgrade? They'd seen the footage. They'd formed opinions. Kind opinions. Sympathetic opinions. But opinions nonetheless. Being around people required energy. Required performance. Required being on. She had nothing left. Not after Blake's call. Not after Belgrade. Not after watching herself fall apart in front of 18,000 people. Amy started marking days on a calendar. Physical. Analog. Something concrete. Each morning, an X. 1 day closer to Blake's release. 112 days became 111, then 110, then 109. The numbers decreased. The math worked. Progress happened. Slowly, painfully, but measurably. She could see it, could touch it, could prove that time was actually moving, that 4 more months wouldn't last forever, that eventually November would arrive, that Blake would walk out of Pentonville, that they could try again. The media moved on. New scandals emerged. Other celebrities fell apart. Amy's Belgrade disaster became old news. The footage remained. The damage persisted. But the headlines changed. Smaller, less prominent, eventually disappearing. She was grateful. Small mercies again. The pressure eased. The expectations lowered. People stopped asking when she'd tour again. Stopped wondering about new music. Let her fade into the background. Exactly where she wanted to be. Invisible, forgotten, just Amy. Marking days on a calendar, counting down to November. But the industry didn't forget. The promoters who'd lost money. The fans who'd been disappointed. The venues that had canceled. The insurance companies that had paid out. Amy Winehouse had become a liability, a risk. Someone who might show up drunk, might forget lyrics, might walk off stage. The reputation took years to build. Belgrade destroyed it in 18 minutes. That's how fragile success was. How quickly genius could become cautionary tale. How fast the industry could turn. Her accountant showed her the numbers. Tours canceled, revenue lost, legal fees mounting. The money was disappearing, faster than it had arrived. Amy didn't care. Money meant nothing when you're counting days until the person you love gets released from prison. When your last public performance is watching yourself stumble on YouTube. When your legacy is becoming a disaster instead of a discography. The numbers on her bank account mattered less than the numbers on her calendar. 112, 111, 110. October arrived. Blake had 30 days left. Amy had survived 82 days. The math was working. The calendar was winning. She felt something she hadn't felt since June. Something resembling hope. Something like anticipation. Not happiness. Not yet. But maybe the possibility of happiness. Maybe the chance of a future. Maybe the opportunity to try again. With Blake? With music? With being Amy Winehouse on her own terms. She started writing. Not songs, just words, thoughts, feelings, processing everything that had happened. Belgrade, the phone call, the vodka, the stumbling, the footage, the aftermath, the waiting. All of it poured onto pages, messy, unstructured, honest. She wasn't sure what it would become. Maybe lyrics, maybe nothing, maybe just therapy, cheaper than Dr. Romete, more honest than trying to explain to someone else. The words knew, the pages understood. The pen didn't judge. Her label called, tentative, careful, asking if she'd considered new material, new album, when she was ready. No pressure. But the option existed, if she wanted it. Amy said maybe, not yes, not no, maybe. After Blake's release, after they figured things out, after she stopped counting days and started counting possibilities, the label accepted that, for now. They needed her more than she needed them. Back to Black was still selling. Her catalog still generated revenue. They could wait. Everyone could wait. Waiting was all anyone did. Mitch visited weekly, brought groceries, checked the apartment, made sure she was eating, made sure she was okay. Father duties, manager duties, the line had always been blurred. Amy appreciated both. She wasn't ready to see most people, but Mitch was different. Mitch had been there before Belgrade, before Blake, before fame. Mitch remembered Amy before she became Amy Winehouse. That person still existed, somewhere, under the tabloid stories and the YouTube footage and the lawsuit. Mitch saw her. That mattered. That was enough. 20 days left, then 15, then 10. Blake would be released November 8th. Amy had circled the date, red marker, multiple times. The circle was thick, definite, permanent. On November 8th, the math would complete. The waiting would end. The 4 more months would be over. She'd planned nothing beyond that date. No concerts, no recordings, no interviews. Just Blake, just time together. Just figuring out if they could make this work outside of prison visits and phone calls and letters she never sent. The Serbian lawsuit settled. Undisclosed terms, non-disclosure agreement. Amy's lawyers handled it. She signed papers, paid money. It ended. One less thing to worry about, one less reminder of Belgrade. The footage would never disappear, but the legal battle could. The financial consequences could be resolved. The public memory would eventually fade. Maybe? Hopefully. Eventually. But not yet. Not while the footage still circulated. Not while people still clicked and watched and shared and commented. She cleaned her apartment properly. First time in months. Threw out bottles. Washed dishes. Changed sheets. Preparing for what? She wasn't sure. Blake's release. A fresh start. A new chapter. The apartment looked different. Clean. Felt different. Like someone lived there. Like it was a home instead of a place to hide. She kept the calendar. November 8th still circled. 6 days away. 144 hours. 8,640 minutes. The math felt possible now. Felt real. Felt close. November 8th, 2011. Blake walked out of Pentonville at 9:07 a.m. Amy waited outside. No cameras, no press. Just her. In a car. Hood up. Sunglasses on. He saw her immediately. Crossed the distance. Got in. They didn't speak. Didn't need to. 4 months of waiting ended. 112 days completed. The calendar had won. The math had worked. She'd survived. They'd survived. What came next was uncertain. But for this moment, in this car, outside Pentonville prison, Amy Winehouse wasn't counting anymore. Wasn't waiting. Wasn't marking days. Just breathing. Just being. Just holding Blake's hand and driving away from the cameras and the questions and the expectations. Belgrade felt distant. The phone call felt like years ago. The stumbling and the footage and the lawsuit had happened to someone else. Not the Amy sitting in this car, not the woman who'd counted 112 days. This was different Amy, harder Amy, survivor Amy, the one who'd heard 4 more months and didn't completely break, who'd walked off stage but got up the next day, who'd faced lawsuits and headlines and hatred and kept marking days on a calendar, who'd waited, who'd hoped, who'd survived. The car drove through London, toward Camden, toward home, toward whatever came next. Blake squeezed her hand. She squeezed back. No words needed. They'd said everything, in phone calls, in letters, in visits behind glass. Now was time for silence, for presence, for being together without barriers or guards or time limits. Tomorrow would bring challenges, the industry, the expectations. The pressure to prove Belgrade was a fluke, to show she could still perform, to demonstrate the genius still existed. But tomorrow was tomorrow. Today was November 8th, the day the waiting ended, the day Amy stopped counting, the day the math finally worked out. The world would never learn about the phone call, about Blake's news, about 4 more months. The official story blamed exhaustion, blamed pressure, blamed the usual suspects. Amy never corrected them, never explained, never defended. Let them think what they wanted. Let the footage speak for itself. Let Belgrade become whatever narrative people needed it to be. The truth stayed private, between her and Blake, between her and that phone call, between her and the dressing room and the vodka, and the moment everything changed. In 8 months, Amy would be gone. July 23, 2011 would mark the end. The world would mourn, would remember her genius, would forget Belgrade, would focus on the music, on Rehab and Back to Black, and the voice that defined a generation. The footage would remain, but it would be overshadowed by grief, by loss, by the tragedy of talent destroyed too young. 27, the cursed age, the club she'd join, alongside Jimmy and Janice and Jim and Kurt. Amy Winehouse, forever young, forever troubled, forever remembered for the music instead of the mistakes. But on November 8, 2011, none of that had happened yet. The future remained unwritten. The calendar showed days ahead instead of days counted. Blake was free. Amy was hopeful. The car moved through London streets, taking them somewhere, anywhere, away from Pentonville, away from Belgrade, away from the phone call that had changed everything, towards something new, something possible, something that existed in the space between waiting and hoping and trying one more time. The 3 words that destroyed Belgrade had been answered. 4 months had passed. The math had worked. The waiting had ended. Whatever came next would come. But for this moment, in this car, holding Blake's hand, Amy Winehouse wasn't performing, wasn't failing, wasn't stumbling, just breathing, just being, just alive.